Sheesh, man. It's been 10 years since I started doing game development. And when I first started, I had an oversimplified idea of what game dev would look like for me. And it was great. Gotta be honest, I was young. I had a ton of time to just play around in Unreal Engine. But now that I'm older, I've got more responsibility, and progress just doesn't happen the way that it used to. So I have committed to showing what I'm working on weekly, and we're going to get to that at the end of the video. But spoiler alert, life happened this week, and I didn't make tons of progress. So we're going to start off by just discussing a couple of things that I wish I knew when I first started game development, right? So, first and foremost, the importance of commenting your code. When I first started, I would just get into the engine, do what I needed to do, and then leave. And then a week, 2 weeks, sometimes six months later, I'd come back and look at stuff that I had done, and I wouldn't be able to understand it. Like I'd understand it functionally, but I wouldn't have the full picture. So just accept that you're gonna eventually want to revisit code that you've written, whether it's to reuse it in another project that you're working on, or just to, spin back and make some improvements on stuff you've already worked on. Comment your code because your future self is going to thank you, right? Secondly, just pick the engine that best suits your skill set, right? I know the most popular two are Unity and Unreal Engine, but already being able to code is pretty useful when it comes to using those two engines. And it's important to understand that the barrier for entry into game development is lower than it's ever been. That means it's easier than ever to start where you're at, right? Now, I'm all for learning transferable skills, but if you're not ready to learn C++, just use an engine that requires no code. No code. RPG Maker is great. There's plenty of engines out there that just don't require any knowledge of code. My first game was actually not in Unreal. I was 17. I was 16 or 17. I was a junior in high school, and I didn't even have a computer that could really run Unreal Engine. So I just found something that worked for me, and I made a game. I made a game in that, and that was kind of how I first got started into game development. It was a simple game. All you did was click a bear that was bouncing around the screen, and each time you clicked it, it would get faster, and you just try to get the highest score. I think I'm gonna remake that game in Unreal Engine and do a video on that, see if we can make it better. But just pick the engine that best suits your skill set and start from there. And the last thing I wish I knew before I started was tutorials have context. When you first start, you're gonna be watching a ton of tutorials, and the temptation is to just copy exactly what they're doing, but that won't always work for your project because the context of a tutorial and the context of your game are entirely different. So, for example, a lot of tutorials will do stuff off of event tick, which, if you're not careful, can be very costly on the performance of your game. But using event tick in a tutorial works perfectly fine because it's just a tutorial, right? You don't have that additional context of the game that you're working on, right? So copying tutorials exactly is a great way to introduce bugs into your code. My recommendation is to just watch every tutorial twice. The first time you watch it, just watch it for comprehension. Watch it to understand what's going on at a higher level, and then watch it again to see how it's actually done. Now, all that being said, don't give up. Keep learning by doing and celebrate your small victories, and hang in there. And now we're gonna get into what I've actually been working on. What's chat saying? What's chat saying? Oh, we gotta give the dogs a treat. Da, da, da. I took a class for fun in college. I had fun making things, but I had trouble. But got an okay grade. Took it in 2017, right? You just started with what you could do, and starting with what you can do is a great way to figure out whether game development is for you or not. All right, so I've been working on creating a movement system for a game that I'm working on. Last time I left off, we had gotten vaulting working well enough, so our character can now vault over stuff. We at first this was very you had to be very precise with when you hit the button, but now it works pretty well. Usually the button press matches the player's intent. Of course, there's still some polish that we need to put on it, but we had decided to put this down for a little bit, and we were going to start working on wall running, right? And so we've got wall running to a place where when we jump, is it broken? I think man, it was working, y'all. I promise it was working. Player was sticking to the wall, but I didn't actually have much time to work on wall running this week. Let me pull open my character blueprint. Last time you saw this character blueprint, I was kind of having trouble. Like my jump, input action jump event was very, very bloated. It had a lot going on in it, and it was kind of hard to follow everything that was happening with this. So what I did was I broke it down as much as possible into modular functions that make it very clear about what the order of operations is when a player hits the jump button, right? So the first thing we do when we hit a jump button is we enter into a gate that we immediately close, and then we continue on with the gate. The reason why we close the gate is because we don't want any extra jump inputs while we're figuring out what to do with the input that was already given, right? So depending on whether we're wall running or not, if we're not wall running, we're just gonna see if we can vault over something. And so I've taken all this code, used to be straight off jump. I've made it so the order of operations is to see if we can vault, then start a normal jump, and while we're in the air, see if we can wall run. And if we can't wall run, just finish the normal jump, right? So all I did was simplify code this week, and this was progress to me this week. It was refreshing to sit here and comment everything, make it look way more legible. So that's all I did this week. Now, next week, we're gonna be next week, my goal is to actually give this movement system purpose, right? So I'm gonna put together an obstacle course, and we're gonna see if the movement system can handle all the obstacles in the obstacle course, and then we're gonna go from there. That's it for this week's video. If y'all are watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you. You can join us over on Twitch. I do record these videos live, and we're just gonna go play some games today. We're gonna go play Resident Evil 4. Gonna hang out, chat about good stuff. Yeah, that's it, y'all. Peace.